The strange alien law. Jack stood at the spaceport, staring at the purple skies of Valeria. This was his first mission to an alien planet. He was a simple human engineer, sent here to help build a peace station between humans and the Valerian people. Jack didn't know much about the aliens, except that they were tall, strong, and not very friendly. A group of Valerian guards walked toward him. One of them, wearing dark armor and a helmet with red markings, stepped forward. "You are the human called Jack?" the alien asked in a deep voice. "Yes," Jack replied. "I'm here to help with the peace station." The alien didn't smile. Instead, he said, "Then you must follow our law. As part of your stay, you must share a room and a bed with a Valerian." Jack blinked. "What?" "It is our tradition," the alien said. "To learn trust, the body must rest beside one who was once the enemy. 1 bed, 1 week." Jack wanted to ask more questions, but the alien had already turned away. Another guard led him through the base, down long silver halls. Everything was quiet and cold. At last, the guard stopped in front of a door. "Your room. Your bedmate is Commander Rila." The door slid open. Inside stood the tallest woman Jack had ever seen. She had silver blue skin, sharp eyes, and wore light armor. Her face looked calm, but cold. Very cold. She did not smile. She didn't even nod. "This is a mistake," Jack said softly. "We're just sharing a room, right?" Rila turned her back to him and spoke in a flat voice. "There is only 1 bed." Jack looked at the bed. It wasn't even that big. That night, Jack lay on one side of the bed, staring at the ceiling. Rayla lay on the other side, stiff like a statue. She faced away from him, silent. The room was cold, and so was the silence between them. He tried to break it. "So, do you like working here?" No reply. "You're a commander, right? That's impressive." Nothing. He sighed. "Okay. Good talk." He turned and tried to sleep, but sleep didn't come. His mind was too busy. He was on an alien planet, forced to share a bed with a warrior who looked like she could break him in half. What kind of peace mission was this? Hours passed. The lights in the room dimmed to soft blue. Jack finally drifted into sleep. Suddenly, he woke up. Something wasn't right. He looked around. Rayla was not in bed. He sat up slowly. She was standing by the window, her back to him. Her tall frame looked tense. Her hands were shaking. The moonlight touched her face, and Jack thought he saw something wet on her cheek. Tears. But that couldn't be. Valerians were warriors. They didn't cry. Right? Jack didn't move. He didn't say anything. He just watched. After a while, Rilla wiped her face and turned back. When she saw Jack was awake, her eyes turned sharp. "You saw nothing," she said coldly. Jack nodded slowly. "Okay. I saw nothing." She walked back to bed and lay down, again turning her back to him. The next morning, Jack got up early. Rayla was already awake, sitting at a small table and cleaning her armor. She didn't speak. Jack grabbed his jacket. "I'll go to the worksit," he said, trying to sound normal. She looked at him once. "You will not survive without a guide. I will come." Jack was surprised, but he didn't argue. At the worksit, the Valerian workers didn't talk to Jack. They looked at him like he didn't belong. Only Rilla stayed close. She didn't speak unless needed, but she watched everything around them. One time, part of the metal roof started to fall. Jack didn't see it. Rayla moved fast, faster than he could react. She pushed him out of the way and took the hit herself. She stood back up like nothing happened. "You okay?" Jack asked, shocked. She didn't answer. She just walked away. That night, Jack lay on the bed again. Rilla was silent, still, her back turned. But something had changed. She saved him. Why? Was it just duty? Or was there something behind her cold eyes? As Jack drifted into sleep, one thought stayed in his mind. What was Rilla hiding? The cold warrior's wall. The next morning began with silence. Again. Jack sat on the edge of the bed, rubbing his tired eyes. The air in the room felt heavy, like the kind of silence that had weight. Rilla was already up, standing near the mirror, adjusting the straps on her armor. She didn't say a word. She never did. It had been 2 nights of strange, quiet sleep beside an alien warrior who acted like he didn't exist. And yet, she had saved his life yesterday. No one on the worksite even cared. But she moved without thinking and pushed him out of danger. Why? Jack stood up and cleared his throat. Thanks for saving me yesterday. No reply. You could have let me get crushed, but you didn't. So, thanks. Still nothing. He sighed. Okay, I'll stop talking now. As he reached for the door to leave for the day, Rilla finally spoke. Her voice was calm, but sharp. Do not speak of what happened. Jack paused. Why? Because it is weakness, she said. You were weak. I responded. That is all. Jack turned back to her. You weren't weak. You took a hit for me. Rilla's jaw tightened, but she said nothing more. She turned away again. The worksite that day was busier. Valerians walked past him without eye contact. Even the human engineers whispered about the alien commander. Everyone feared Rilla. She was not just any warrior. She had fought in the last human-Valerian war. They said she once defeated an entire squad alone. Jack tried not to believe the rumors. Still, he couldn't stop thinking about the way she froze in front of the window the other night, or the way her hands trembled when she thought he was asleep. There was something behind her coldness, something deep and hidden. That night, in their shared room, Jack tried again. You ever visit Earth? He asked. No, she replied flatly. Do you want to? No. Okay. Do you hate humans? She didn't answer. Jack chuckled dryly. You know, I think that's a yes. Suddenly, Rilla stood up and walked over to him, fast and silent. She looked down at him, her silver blue eyes glowing slightly in the low light. You speak too much, she said. And you speak too little, Jack replied, not moving. There was a long pause between them. Tension filled the room. Then, without warning, Rilla turned and removed her outer armor. Jack looked away quickly out of respect, but something caught his eye. Long scars, deep and old, across her back. He gasped softly. She turned her head slightly. Did you see? Jack hesitated. Yes. In a blink, she was in front of him again. Her hand grabbed his neck, not choking, but strong. A warning. You saw nothing, she said coldly. Jack didn't fight her grip. He looked her in the eyes. I saw pain. That's what I saw. Her grip loosened. She stared at him for a moment longer, then slowly stepped back. Jack didn't know what just happened, but he knew one thing. This woman had been through something terrible. Later that night, Jack lay in bed, pretending to sleep. Rilla sat on her side, legs crossed, facing the door like a guard. Always watching, always ready. She didn't trust anyone. Suddenly, she spoke, not to him, but to the room. Humans took everything from me. Jack opened his eyes slowly. What do you mean? My family, my brother, my peace, she said. Her voice was emotionless, but the pain sat just beneath the surface. I was born for battle, but I was not born for grief. Jack sat up. I'm sorry. You weren't there, she replied. But still, you wear the same face. That sentence hit Jack hard. She continued, every night I remember their screams. I trained to forget. I became a commander, a perfect soldier. But in silence, they return. Jack didn't know what to say. He couldn't erase her pain. He couldn't fix her past, but he could listen. He stayed quiet. That night, Rilla lay closer to his side, still facing away. Still stiff, but closer. It wasn't friendship. Not yet. But it was a crack in the wall. And for a cold warrior like her, even a small crack was a big change. The battle inside her. The cold was different tonight. It wasn't the chill of the alien air or the smooth steel walls of the room. It was something inside, quiet, heavy, and invisible. Jack could feel it pressing against his chest like a weight. Rilla had spoken last night. Not much. Just enough to show there was more behind her silence than pride or arrogance. Pain lived in her. Deep pain. And Jack couldn't stop thinking about it. That morning, he watched her eat a piece of dried fruit with robotic motions. Her expression was blank. Her hands moved like a machine. No joy. No flavor. Just survival. "You don't sleep much, do you?" Jack asked. Rayla glanced at him. "Sleep is dangerous. You are unguarded." Jack nodded. "That's true. But sleep also helps you heal." "I do not heal," she said. "I endure." The words cut deep. Jack wanted to say something back. But what do you say to someone who stopped trying to heal? Later at the construction site, the workers loaded heavy steel beams for the outer wall. Jack worked with other human engineers while Rella watched from a distance, arms crossed, her sharp eyes scanning the area. Suddenly, a worker's machine failed, sending a beam swinging wildly toward a human technician. Before Jack could shout, Rilla was already moving. She grabbed the man and rolled him out of the way. The beam crashed to the ground inches away. Gasps echoed. The Valerian guards nearby just nodded with respect, but the human technician looked terrified. Not of the beam, but of Rilla. She turned and walked away without a word. Later, Jack found her in the back room of the supply tent, sitting alone. "That guy was scared of you," Jack said gently. "He should be," Rayla replied. Jack sat beside her. "But you saved him." "I am not doing this for him," she said. "I do it because I was ordered to protect you." Jack looked into her eyes. "I don't believe that. You could have stood still. You could have let him die. But you moved. You chose to help." Rayla didn't answer, but she didn't leave either. Jack leaned back, resting against the wall. "You always act like nothing touches you. But I've seen it. Those scars, your eyes at night. You're not made of stone." Her jaw clenched. "You talk too much." "Maybe. But maybe someone needs to." That night, the silence in their room was different again. Not angry, not cold. Just waiting. Rella sat at the edge of the bed, staring at her hands. Jack could see her fingers twitching slightly, as if something inside her was trying to escape. "I had dreams once," she said quietly. Jack looked up. "You did?" "I wanted to become a scientist," she said, "before the war. I liked stars, equations, building things." Jack's heart slowed. She had never shared anything personal before. "What happened?" "They needed soldiers," she said, "and I had strength." She looked at her arms like they didn't belong to her anymore. "I trained every day. They taught me how to kill, how to destroy. They called me perfect." She gave a small, bitter smile. "But in my dreams, I was on a ship, alone, peaceful, charting stars, not hunting humans." Jack was quiet for a moment. Then he whispered, "What changed you?" Rilla closed her eyes. "My brother." She stood and walked to the corner of the room. Her voice became lower, softer. "He was younger, smaller. He didn't want to fight. But he joined to protect me." She paused. "He died in an ambush. Humans. They shot him even after he dropped his weapon. I got there too late." Jack felt the chill again, but now it wasn't just the room. It was grief. Her grief. "I carried his body for 3 days," she said. "I screamed. I swore I'd never feel again. And then I killed everyone in that ambush team. Every single one." Jack's throat felt dry. "And you never stopped hating us after that." Rilla turned around. "I wanted to hate you. Every one of you. But then I met humans who were kind, quiet, helpful. I didn't know what to feel anymore." She looked straight at Jack now. Her voice was tight. "Then they said I had to share a bed with one. And I thought, maybe I'd hate him too." Jack stood slowly. "But you don't." She didn't reply. He walked closer, slowly. "I'm sorry about your brother. I can't change what happened. But maybe I can be different from what you expect." She stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly she nodded. "Just once." That night, she lay beside him, not with her back turned, but facing him. Not close, but not distant either. In the dim light, Jack heard her whisper something in her language. Soft, like a name. "Your brother?" he asked. She didn't answer, but her eyes closed slowly, peacefully. The warrior was still inside her. But now, so was the sister. The ghosts of war. The days passed, but something had changed between them. The silence in the room wasn't empty anymore. It was quiet. But it held meaning. It held memories, pain, and a strange kind of trust. Jack didn't push. He didn't ask too many questions. But he listened. And Rayla, she had stopped turning away from him. Now sometimes she looked at him, not with a smile, but with eyes that no longer saw him as an enemy. One morning, Jack sat by the small table, sipping warm root tea made from local plants. Rayla sat across from him, slowly polishing a strange silver emblem. It looked like a military medal, but it had a crack down the center. Jack looked at it, then at her. "What's that?" She paused, then placed it gently on the table. "It was my brother's." Jack leaned in. "He was a soldier too." Rayla nodded. "He joined for me. I told him not to. He didn't listen." Jack noticed her fingers trembled slightly as she touched the cracked metal. Did he die here? On this base? "No," she said. "It was far away. In a forest. Cold, wet ground. We had no cover. I ordered him to retreat. He refused. He wanted to save civilians." She looked away. "He was shot in the back." Jack swallowed hard. "That's awful." Rayla's voice lowered. "They said it was a mistake, that the humans didn't know he had surrendered. But you never believed that." "No." Later that day, Jack visited the construction site's records room. He had been assigned to check supply logs, but he had something else on his mind. Something Rayla had said wouldn't leave him alone. He asked one of the older Valerian technicians about her brother. The technician looked around, lowered his voice, and said, "Commander Rayla had a brother named Tivan. He was different. Kind. Too soft for war. What happened to him?" The man looked away. "He died trying to protect a mixed family. Human and Valerian. That wasn't part of the report, but I was there." Jack's eyes widened. "Mixed. Like a human and alien couple." "Yes. They had a child. Tivan tried to get them to safety. He was shot while shielding them." "Did the child survive?" The technician hesitated. "I don't know. No one speaks of it." Jack felt a strange chill. He thanked the man and left, his mind racing. Rayla had never mentioned a family, just her brother. But there was more. A hidden piece of her story. That evening, back in the room, Jack found Rayla sitting by the bed, holding a small metal box. She looked up as he entered. "You were gone long." Jack sat beside her. "I was asking about your brother." Her expression tightened. "I heard he died protecting a family. A mixed family." Her eyes narrowed. "Who told you?" "Someone who was there." Rayla was silent for a long time. Then she opened the metal box. Inside was a small photo. It was old and worn, but clear enough. A young Valerian man stood beside a human woman. Between them was a child, half human, half alien, with bright eyes and a wide smile. Jack stared. "That's him. Your brother." She nodded. "And the woman was his mate." Jack blinked. So, you had a nephew. Her voice cracked slightly. Yes. His name was Lur. What happened to them? I do not know, she said. The last message I got was from Tevin. He said they were running. That the humans didn't want a child like Lur to live. Jack clenched his fists. That's evil. I never found their bodies, she whispered. Only Tevin's. The rest vanished. She closed the box and looked at Jack. That is why I feared you. Why I hated you. Because you wear the same face as the ones who hunted my family. Jack didn't speak. He didn't try to defend his people. What could he say? Instead, he reached out and gently placed his hand on hers. I don't know what happened to them, he said. But if they're alive, I'll help you find them. Her eyes filled with something he hadn't seen before. Something fragile. Hope. That night, it rained on Valeria. Thin, glowing rain fell like silver dust outside the window. Rilla stood and watched, her reflection soft in the glass. Jack sat on the bed, watching her. You used to dream about the stars, he said. She nodded. What do you dream about now? She paused. Then softly she said, I dream that Lur is still alive. Somewhere. Jack stood and walked beside her. Then we'll find him. We'll look together. She looked up at him. Why would you help me? Jack gave a small smile. Because no one should carry ghosts alone. The attack. The air was still. Too still. Valeria's sun had barely risen when Rilla woke from a dreamless sleep. Jack was still asleep beside her, breathing softly, turned on his side. For the first time since they'd met, his presence didn't feel like a threat to her. It felt like something else. Not quite comfort, but not danger either. She sat up, slid silently out of bed, and reached for her armor. Her hands moved with practiced ease, but her mind was somewhere far away. She thought of the photo of her brother, of the child with the bright eyes, of Jack's promise. She hadn't believed in promises for a long time. And yet, a loud explosion shook the room. The floor rattled. The walls trembled. The lights blinked. Jack bolted upright, eyes wide. What was that? Rilla was already standing, fully armored. She threw him his jacket. Get up. Now. More sounds followed. Gunfire. Shouts. Screams. Then a voice crackled over the base-wide comm system. Warning. Base is under attack. All personnel, take cover or report to defense points. Enemy unknown. This is not a drill. Jack grabbed his boots. Who's attacking us? Rilla's face was hard. Rebel faction. Valerians who hate the peace treaty. They've been quiet for years, until now. Jack's heart pounded. Why now? They found out a human sleeps in the commander's room, she said. That's enough reason for war. Outside, the base was chaos. Smoke filled the skies. Rebel ships hovered above like vultures, firing down on guard towers and energy gates. Valerian defenders rushed to respond, but the rebels were fast and brutal. Jack stuck close to Rilla as she led him through the halls, dodging blasts and collapsed corridors. Every sound was sharp, every shadow a possible threat. We need to reach the command center, Rilla said. They'll target the human first. Jack looked at her. You mean me? Yes. And what about you? She paused. They'll try to make an example of me. They reached a broken hallway near the energy core when a blast hit the sidewall. The explosion knocked them both off their feet. Jack hit the ground hard, coughing in dust and smoke. His ears rang. Rilla, he called out. She didn't answer. He crawled forward, searching through the smoke. Then he saw her, half buried under a fallen beam, one arm twisted, her breathing heavy. No, 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 he whispered, running to her. She looked up, blood running down her cheek. Leave me. Go. Not a chance, Jack said. You saved me before. Now it's my turn. He grabbed a metal rod and wedged it under the beam. With every ounce of strength, he pushed. His muscles screamed. His back felt like it would snap. Rayla watched silently. The beam shifted. He pushed harder. And finally, it rolled off her with a heavy crash. She gasped and rolled to her side. Foolish human. Jack smiled, panting. Takes one to know one. He helped her stand, pulling her arm around his shoulder. Come on. We move together. The rest of the way was a blur of sirens, smoke, and heat. They reached the central command room as the final shield barriers went up. Base defenses returned fire. Rebel ships began pulling back. The battle had turned, but the damage was done. Valerian officers reported multiple losses. Parts of the base were destroyed. Supplies gone. Communications down. Jack helped Rilla sit near the med unit. Her arm was badly bruised, and her shoulder had dislocated. A healer arrived to treat her, but she waved him away. I'm fine, she said. Take care of the others. Jack sat beside her. You nearly died. She looked at him. You carried me. He nodded. I wasn't going to leave you. There was a pause between them. Then Rayla reached into her chest pocket and pulled out something small, round and silver, her warrior badge. She held it in her hand for a long moment, then offered it to Jack. He stared at it. What is this? A mark of loyalty, she said, given only to those who save us when we fall. Jack didn't know what to say. He looked into her eyes. Are you sure? She nodded once. You saw me. All of me. And you stayed. He took the badge slowly, holding it like it was made of glass. That night, the base was quiet again. Too quiet, but not peaceful. The fires had gone out, but the fear hadn't. Everyone knew more attacks might come, that the rebels wouldn't stop with one failed attempt. Jack and Rilla sat in their room, now dimly lit by emergency lights. The bed was messy. Their clothes were torn, their faces tired, but their walls were down. You were willing to die for me, Jack said. Rilla turned to him. So were you. He gave her a weak smile. We make a good team. She looked away for a moment. Then softly she said, Maybe I was wrong about humans. Jack raised an eyebrow. That's progress. Rilla nodded. And maybe, not all pain must stay hidden forever. She reached out and gently touched the edge of the badge he now wore around his neck. You carry my symbol now, she whispered. That means something. Jack looked at her. It means I'll never walk away. The truth between them. The days after the attack felt like a strange limbo. The rebel threat had been pushed back, but the scars were everywhere, on the base, on the soldiers, and on Rayla herself. The atmosphere had shifted. The people of Valeria looked at Jack with a new kind of respect, but also fear. They didn't know what he represented, an outsider who had been forced to share a bed with their commander, someone who had seen her vulnerability and survived. It was different now. Every glance, every whispered conversation felt like they were asking a question. What was Jack to Rayla? No one asked directly, but Jack felt it in the air. He felt it in Rilla's silences. He hadn't seen her fully open up like she had after the attack, when she had offered him her warrior badge, her symbol of loyalty. It meant something important, but he still didn't know what. That night, as Jack sat in the room waiting for Rayla, his mind was filled with questions he wasn't sure he wanted to ask. The door slid open, and Rayla stepped inside. She had her armor off, but the hardness in her eyes remained. She moved like a soldier, every step controlled, every motion precise. Jack stood, but she waved him back down. Stay. She walked to the window, staring out at the dark sky. The silence between them stretched long, almost painfully so. Jack shifted, uncomfortable. Rayla. About what happened in the fight. She raised a hand, cutting him off. I was supposed to protect you. He paused. I think you did more than that. She didn't look at him. I failed. Jack's brow furrowed. What do you mean? You saved me. You saved so many others. She turned to face him, her eyes sharper than usual. I failed because I didn't protect the one person I should have protected. Jack's heart skipped. You're talking about your brother, aren't you? Her gaze faltered for a moment before locking onto his eyes. There was pain there, raw and deep. She nodded slowly. Tivin. He was my responsibility. She walked slowly toward him, her steps heavy with the weight of the past. She sat on the edge of the bed, hands trembling slightly as she rubbed the edge of her armor. I could never protect him. He was the one who protected me, and I let him die. Jack stepped closer, unsure of what to say. The pain in her voice was undeniable. He sat next to her, giving her the space she needed. He didn't want to fight, she continued, her voice a whisper now. He was a scientist. He wanted to study the stars, build things. But the war took him, took everything. Rayla's eyes welled with unshed tears, but she didn't let them fall. Instead, she wiped them away with the back of her hand, refusing to show weakness. Jack spoke softly. I'm sorry, Rayla. I can't imagine what it's like to lose someone like that. Her lips pressed together in a tight line. You don't understand. He was everything to me. The only one who kept me human. And now I've lost everything. She stood up abruptly, as though the emotion was too much for her to bear. I've trained to be a warrior, a perfect machine. But machines don't have feelings. They don't have family. Jack stood as well, his voice steady. Rayla, you're not a machine. I've seen that. I've seen you care. Her eyes narrowed. Caring gets people killed. I don't think it works that way, Jack replied, moving closer to her. You care. It's why you saved me, even when it put you at risk. Her gaze flickered for a moment. For the first time in days, Jack saw something vulnerable in her, something beyond the hardened warrior. She was breaking, but she was also standing tall, refusing to let herself fall apart. But she didn't answer. She couldn't. The walls she had built for so long were cracking, and the more she tried to push away, the more the truth seemed to come closer. Later that night, as Jack lay awake in bed, the quiet in the room felt different again. He could hear Arella's soft breathing, her body still and tense. He couldn't sleep. There was something else he needed to understand, something about her past that kept her from truly being free. The walls she had built around herself weren't just about the war. They were about something more personal, something deeper. He turned toward her. Rayla, what happened to your nephew? Did you ever find out if he was alive? She didn't stir at first, but then her voice came, low and hesitant. No. After Tivin died, I searched for months. I followed every lead, every rumor, but I found nothing. Jack waited, but she didn't continue. So you never found him? No, she whispered, but I still hope. Jack reached out, taking her hand gently in his. Hope is a good thing, Rayla. You don't have to carry it alone. She finally looked at him, her eyes softening. There was something different about her now, a vulnerability she hadn't shown before. I don't know how to live without the past, Jack, she admitted. Everywhere I go, I hear their voices. My brother, my nephew, the people I couldn't save. I am still fighting a war inside. Every day. Jack squeezed her hand. You don't have to fight it alone anymore. I'm here. I'll help you. She closed her eyes, her breath shaky. For the first time in years, Rayla allowed herself to feel something, to trust. She didn't push him away. I know, she whispered. The next morning, the tension between them had shifted. It wasn't gone. There were still unsaid things hanging in the air, but it was different. She had shared something personal. She had allowed herself to be weak, if only for a moment. And Jack knew, deep down, that this was just the beginning. The last night. The war between the past and present had not ended. It never truly would for Rayla. The base was quieter now, after the attack. The rebel threat had been beaten back, but the scars were deep, etched into the walls and into the hearts of everyone who had fought. Even the calm of the night couldn't remove the tension, the constant waiting for what might come next. But in the midst of the chaos, there was a strange calm in the room that Jack and Rilla shared. It was the last night before Jack was scheduled to leave. His mission was done. The peace station was nearly complete. He had done everything he had come to do, but now there was only one thing left: to say goodbye. The thought of leaving made his chest tighten. It wasn't just about the base or his mission. It was Rilla. He had never expected this, to find a connection with someone so broken, so distant, someone who had been hardened by war, by loss. But in that brokenness, Jack had found something else, something human. And that was why he couldn't leave. Not yet. Rilla sat by the window, looking out into the night. The soft glow of the stars illuminated her face, and for a moment, she didn't look like the commander who had led soldiers into battle. She looked like the woman who had once dreamed of the stars, who had once believed there could be something more. Jack stood by the door, watching her. The last few days had felt like the slowest kind of eternity. They hadn't talked much about the future, what would happen when he left, or what they were to each other. She was a warrior. He was a human outsider. There was no place for him here, not really. But Jack had changed. She had changed. They both had. He stepped closer, breaking the silence that had filled the room since they returned from the attack. "Rilla," he said quietly, "I can't leave without knowing one thing." She turned slowly, her expression unreadable. "What is it? What happens now?" he asked. "What happens to you? To us?" Her eyes softened just for a moment before she closed them. "There is no us, Jack. You came here to help. You did what you needed to do, and now you must leave." The words stung, but Jack didn't flinch. He walked toward her, every step filled with the weight of his own heart. "That's not true," he said. "You know that's not true. We've been through too much for it to just end like this." Rilla didn't speak. She couldn't. She didn't want to admit it, to admit that she had allowed herself to care, to trust again. It felt dangerous. It felt like a betrayal to the memory of her brother, to the person she used to be. "I don't know what you're asking," she said, her voice low. Jack reached out, gently touching her shoulder. "I'm asking you to let me stay. Let me help you." Her breath caught, and she turned her head to look at him, her eyes filled with something he had never seen before: vulnerability, fear, and something else: longing. "You can't stay," she whispered. "You'll be gone tomorrow." He shook his head. "I don't care about tomorrow. I care about right now." For a long time, there was only the sound of their breathing, the heavy silence between them. And then, very slowly, Rilla's hand found his. She didn't pull away this time. She held it, carefully, as if it was a fragile thing. "I don't know how to let go," she said quietly. "I don't know how to stop being the commander, the warrior. I don't know how to be anything else." Jack's grip tightened. "You don't have to be anything else. Just be yourself. Just be here." Rilla's eyes searched his face, as if looking for something she couldn't find. "You're not afraid of me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He smiled gently. "No, not anymore." She looked down at their hands. "I've always been alone, Jack, even before the war. Even when Teven was with me, I was still alone. I pushed everyone away because I thought it was the only way to survive. But I'm not sure I know how to live any other way." Jack reached out, lifting her chin so she would look at him. "Maybe you don't have to do it alone. Not anymore." The weight of her past seemed to press down on her shoulders. She had carried it for so long, and it had been the only thing that kept her standing. But now, in this moment, she felt something shift inside her. Something had been broken open. Not healed, not yet, but cracked wide enough to let something new inside. The night stretched on, and they stayed together, quiet, but not cold. Rilla didn't pull away this time. She didn't need to. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to simply be, to simply exist in the moment, without the constant weight of the past hanging over her. Jack didn't know what tomorrow would bring. He didn't know if Rilla could truly heal or if they could find a way to be together beyond the walls of this base. But for that moment, it didn't matter. They were just two people standing together in the dark. The next morning, Jack stood at the base's departure bay, his bags packed, his heart heavier than he'd ever felt before. The ships were ready to take him back to Earth, back to his old life. It was time to go. But before he boarded, he turned back toward the door. Rilla stood there, waiting. Neither of them spoke. They didn't need to. She had let him in, and now he had to leave. But this time, he wasn't walking away from her. He was walking toward something else, something he couldn't quite name, something that wasn't a goodbye. Not anymore. As he boarded the ship, he looked back one last time. Rilla stood in the doorway, watching him go. But he wasn't afraid anymore.